The founder of extremist eco-group Just Stop Oil, Roger Hallam, a poisonous old fossil if ever there was one, has been jailed after a judge said that he had crossed the line from concerned campaigner to fanatic. Hallam was found guilty of conspiring to block traffic as part of a Just Stop Oil campaign on the M25 over 4 days of disruption in November 2022. The prosecution said that this campaign had caused economic damage of nearly £750,000 and cost the police £1 million, money taken away from catching burglars, drug dealers and rapists. Hallam and his fellow defendants were prosecuted under a new law of conspiracy to intentionally cause a public nuisance, introduced by the last Tory government in an attempt to crack down on disruptive protests. Fair play to Labour, who will keep this law in place. Well done, Sir Keir. The disruption allegedly caused more than 50,000 hours of traffic delays, affecting the journeys of more than 700,000 vehicles. 2 lorries collided and an Essex police officer suffered concussion and bruising after he was knocked off his motorbike in traffic. People missed flights, people missed funerals, students were delayed for their exams. A child with special needs on his way to school missed part of the school day and missed his medication, which placed the taxi driver at risk, as the child can become volatile without that medication. The list goes on. An individual suffering from aggressive cancer missed an appointment as a cancer patient and had to wait another 2 months for another appointment. Now, in a defiant statement released after he was jailed, Hallam, who thinks he's Jesus and has the beard and sandals to prove it, insisted that his only crime had been giving a talk on civil disobedience as an effective evidence-based method for stopping the elites from putting enough carbon in the atmosphere to send us to extinction. As the top law professor Andrew Tettenborn writes in The Spectator magazine, Just Stop Oil is no doubt sure of its cause, but its position is frightening. It claims, in effect, the right to immobilise the country and decide who is allowed to go where. Frightening is the word. I'm all for having a debate about the environment, and I am pro-net zero if it's done intelligently. But the likes of Hallam are basically religious fanatics, and what they're planning for all of us would render the country into an effective third world nation. They want the government to end the extraction and use of all oil, gas and coal by 2030. Now, what this would mean is a total collapse of our manufacturing industry, an explosion in the cost of energy, endless blackouts, and the kind of economic damage that would make the government's COVID response look like a minor intervention. Even though Just Stop Oil are politically further to the left of Karl Marx, they are supported by pampered, out-of-touch middle-class virtue signallers who wouldn't know what a real day's work looked like if they tried. One of the activists, jailed alongside Hallam, is called Cressida, and the other, Lucia, posher than a bottle of Bayliss and Harding hand soap. Other brands are available. Thanks, Greg. Now, I defend anyone's right to legally protest, but not if it causes harm to other members of the public. And I'll be honest, this crazy cult is pretty bad for its own members too. With Hallam in jail, that's good news for youngsters like this woman, Louise, videoed a couple of years ago dangling on top of a dangerous gantry on the motorway. She is someone who has clearly been radicalised, alongside a couple of others. Take a listen.
I'm here because I don't have a future.
We're on the brink of climate catastrophe.
How worse does it have to get? How many kids have to die?
Off they go to the funny farm. Now, I would be willing to release Mr. Hallam early from jail if he decides to go and protest in China instead, or India, or Brazil, or even the United States, where they are burning fossil fuels for fun. Yes, some of China's emissions come from the production of the goods that we then purchase here in the UK. but with an overall carbon footprint of less than 1% of global emissions. For the UK to damage itself economically at this stage and reduce energy supply makes no sense at all. Look at the numbers. In 2020, for example, 43% of our power came from a mix of wind, solar, bioenergy and hydroelectric sources. It's pretty clear that Britain is a low-polluting country already. Now, I'm all for a future based on nuclear and green renewables. But as demonstrated following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, energy security is national security. And for us not to be accessing oil and gas from our own shores is an act of national suicide. Millionaire Labour donor Dale Vince and posh TV presenter Hugh Fearnley-Whittingsdale have condemned the treatment of Roger Hallam. Of course they have. And BBC Nature presenter Chris Packham is raging about this too. Now, this is a man who has proudly said in the past that it may be time to break the law to pursue the eco-agenda. And ultimately, that's what you're dealing with here. Privileged, deluded and radical people who are happy to discard the rule of law and the democratic process in order to pursue a deeply flawed and destructive agenda. With support from the likes of millionaire-lovey actress Emma Thompson, Just Stop Oil is an entirely bourgeois exercise, a crushingly middle-class outfit, which has no regard for ordinary working people who will suffer if they succeed in sinking the country. The planet is heating up with potentially devastating and expensive consequences. We must act. But the idea of eco-Armageddon is just another luxury belief, so beloved of the likes of Hugh Fearnley-Whittingsdale, Chris Packham and, of course, Gary Lineker. These luxury beliefs, just like open borders, for example, are ideas and opinions that confer status on the pampered, privileged elite, whilst inflicting eye-watering costs on the ordinary public. Well, Just Stop Oil have paid their own high-priced price this week for their illiberal and dangerous activities. And their insane eco-agenda has been exposed as hot air. The public are sick of artworks being desecrated, of sporting events being disrupted, of daily lives being ruined. It's critical that we save the planet in a constructive and sensible way. But luckily, the Just Stop Oil lunatics are running out of steam. Let's hope that Hallam's jail cell hasn't got central heating.